Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to an episode number 17 of the Courtside Podcast. Happy Monday. I know it's a little late, but happy belated Mother's Day to all my friends and family out there. You know who you are. You know, you know. But anyway, in today's video, as you can see, we're going to be recapping games 2 through 5 of the second round of the NBA playoffs. We're also going to be talking about who the Lakers should hire as their next coach, addressing Katie to the Miami Heat and how that's going to work out, and a bunch more. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn that post notification bell, like this video, and comment down below what playoff series do you see an upset in the making, even though some of the series are almost over. Well, one of them is almost over. But anyway, let me know which series do you see an upset. And without further ado, let's hop into today's episode. Also, I forgot to say this in the intro. Hope you guys had an amazing day. Anyway, starting off, we got the Pacers and the Knicks. Game two. This game was a wire to wire, down the wire kind of game. As you can see here, as my screen will load right now. Yes, here we go. Pacers. Um, and the Knicks, as you can see here, Miles Turner led the way with 23 points, followed by Pascal Siakam's 19 points, followed by TJ McConnell. I gotta say, TJ McConnell is been, if there was a sixth man of the year award for the playoffs, like best bench player, I would have to give it to TJ McConnell just because dude's been balling out of his mind. And then of course you got the former Nick Obi Toppin with 12 points, and then my boy Tyrese Halliburton with 6 points. As you look at the Knicks per se, Jalen Brunson, man, has been on an absolute clinic. 43 points, 14 of 26 from the field, 14 and 14 from the line, followed by Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart with 25 points and 24 points. And then Isaiah Hartenstein stepping up without Mitchell Robinson, giving them a solid 13, well, by another 13 by OG Anunoby. Not gonna lie, this game was actually pretty competitive down the stretch. Speaking of competitive, we have, we had the Timberwolves and the Nuggets game two. I got score updates from these games. I didn't watch this game, to be honest with you. I've only been watching a couple of these playoff games, especially here in the second round. But as you can see here, Karl-Anthony Towns had 27 points. Anthony Edwards had 27. Um, Nas Reed gave them a solid 14. Nikhil Alexander Walker, man, has been balling out of his mind. He gave them 14, and pretty much that was pretty much it for the Wolves scoring. As for the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon led the way with 20 points. Nikola Jokic had 16 points. And then Jamal Murray had 8 points. We're going to get to him in a little bit because I have a couple things I want to say. As for the Nuggets, Justin Holiday led the way with 13 points, and pretty much it was just an absolute like blowout from this team. Like there was nothing they could do. Moving on to the next set of games, we have probably day two, I would say, of these playoffs. I think this was filmed, on, we had the second games. We had sorry about that, guys. We got this game two between the Celtics and the Cavs. I think this was game one, game one between the Celtics and the Cavs. And it kind of reminds me of the saying rust versus rest, and Boston right here just absolutely just dominated. Picking at the Cavs per se, Donovan Mitchell led the way with 33 points. Evan Mobley seems to be getting solid, getting better with 17 points. Darius Garland had 14. Isaac Okoro had 11, and then Max Strus had 5. Peeking at the Celtics per se, Jaylen Brown led the way with 32 points. Derek White decided to become Ray Allen in the sense that he's going to pop off with 25 points with 7 threes. And then Jason Tatum at 18. Like, this game was a freaking blowout. And then, of course, Jason Abrams' favorite player, Peyton Pritchard, had 69. I think he hit a half court three, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. I'm not entirely sure. Peeking at the next set of games, we had probably a really banger of a game, but it wasn't a banger because it wasn't even close. We got the Mavs and the Thunder game one. The Thunder won this game 117 to 95. As you can see here, SGA balled out with 29 points. You know, looking at the Mavs side of things, Luka was not his usual self. He had 19 points. Kyrie had 20. Daniel Gafford had 16. PJ Washington had 10. And then I think that's Josh Green had 11 points. And then, yeah, that's about it for the Mavs. For the Thunder side of things, as you can see, their big three stepped up. Shea had 29, excuse me. Jalen Williams had 18. Chet Holmgren had 16. Jalen Williams had a solid 11 points, and then Aaron Wiggins had 16 points. Like this Thunder team is starting to make me feel a little bit stupid now. But anyway, it was just one game. Anyway, moving on to this was day two of the playoffs. We got the Pacers and the Knicks. Another nail biter to the finish. This time Tyrese Halliburton bounced back scoring wise. The Pacers lost this game, but scoring wise, Tyrese Halliburton bounced back 34 points. Aaron Nemhard got 15. Pascal Siakam had 14. Obi Toppin had 20 points. TJ McConnell had 10. Ben Shepherd had 11. It wasn't that good of a game for the Pacers per se because hey, when you got to play in the playoffs, your stars play big minutes. So there wasn't much else to say about the Pacers unless they try to keep it close. Speaking of the Knicks side of things, their starters just balled out of their minds. I mean, Josh Hart played another 48 game. He had 19 points. Jalen Brunson had 29 points. OG Anunoby had 28. Isaiah Hartenstein gave them big minutes and had 14. He had a near triple double, 14 points, along with 12 rebounds and 8 assists. Dante DiVincenzo had 28 points. This Dante DiVincenzo is really freaking good. And the fact that the Bucks traded him and Grayson Allen, yeah, that's not good at all. And then moving on to day two, I think for some of the teams, we had the next game on the list. I think this was Boston Cleveland. Yeah, this was Boston Cleveland game two, and Oklahoma City and Dallas game two as well. Excuse me. Cleveland won 118 to 94. Honestly, if it's just me, but I just think right now, Boston is allergic to game two or something. I don't know what's up with that. But picking at the Cavs stat per se, Donovan Mitchell, of course, led the way with 29 points. Evan Mobley seems to be stepping up, with 21. Garland had 14. Isaac Okoro and Max Strus both had 12 each. And then Karis LeVert had 21 points. The Cavs had it on that day. Being at the Celtics, no one outside of maybe Tatum and Brown did really well. Tatum had 25, Brown had 19, Derek White calmed down a bit with 10, and then Al Horford had 11. Payne Pritchard had 13 points. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. Okay, I don't know what my laptop. Yeah, there we go. All right, peeking at the next game, we had the Mavs and the Thunder game two between these two rivals that I used to grow up watching as a kid. Not anymore, of course, but hey, it was a good rivalry back then. Peeking at the Mavs side of things, Luka bounced back with 29. Kyrie had 9 points, but he did have 11 assists in this game. PJ Washington decided to go crazy and had 29. Daniel Gafford had 13. And Josh Green and Tim Hardaway Jr. both stepped up with 17 and 11. Being on the Thunder side of things, SGA balled out with 33. Jalen Williams had 20. Chet Holmgren surprisingly had 11 points, even though and he had like a +1, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. And pretty much the Thunder's bench couldn't do it. All right. Moving on to the next set of games. I think this was games three. It was, yeah, game three. We got the Knicks and the Pacers. This game, I watched the ending of this game. This game was freaking nuts. Like, look at this. All right, Dante DiVincenzo at 35, Jalen Brunson at 26, and Josh Hart had 10 points. Like, all right, Alex Burke had 14, Miles McBride had 10. It wasn't that good. But I think OG and Obi missed this game. So yeah, it was kind of bad for the Knicks. As for the Pacers, my goodness, I just feel like this Pacers team is like, and this is not a knock on anyone who has this. Like, it's like that little brother who just like won't go away. This kind of reminds me of this Pacer team a little. Like, Tyrese Halliburton had 35 points. All right, Pascal Siakam had 26. Miles Turner had 21. I think he had like a step back three in this game. I'm not entirely sure. It was like game four. I don't know. Uh, Aaron Neesmith had 10 points. Andrew Nemhard. Yo, that if you haven't seen the shot, Google it right now. That shot was freaking incredible, man. And then picking at the Pacers bench, like they didn't do anything, but like, you know, hey, to quote Stacey King, the Chicago Bulls color commentator, big time players make big time plays, and that's what happened with the Pacers. Excuse me. Peeking at the next game, we had probably the biggest shock to me, everyone, including myself. The Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Nuggets won 117-90. Like, this game was not even close. Peeking at the Nuggets side of things, Jokic bounced back with 24. Murray at 24. Kentavious Caldwell gave them 12. Michael Porter Jr. I gotta tell you, man, Michael Porter Jr. has been balling out of his mind this postseason, and it's really crazy. All right, he had 12 points. Aaron Gordon gave him a solid 13, and their bench didn't do anything. But like I said, like, it was a blowout. Peeking at the Timberwolves side of things, only Anthony Edwards came to play. 19 points. Karl-Anthony Towns had 14 points. Jaden McDaniels had 10, and Mike Conley had 10. And their bench just like, yeah, it was like I said, it was a blowout. But congrats to Denver. There's a reason why they're the defending champs, people. There's a reason why they're the defending champs. Peeking at the next set of games, we have the Thunder and the Mavericks on Mother's Day Eve. This game was actually really close. This was game three. The Mavs won this game in a close one. Like, most of these games in these playoffs, man, have been so close. I'm not even joking. But anyway, peeking at the Thunder side of things, SGA had 31. Jalen Williams had 16. Chet Holmgren. Look, this is not a knock on Chet when I say this, you guys. Why does it seem like the last few games of these playoffs, despite the fact that the Thunder lost this game, Chet has a positive plus minus? That's absurd. But peeking at the Thunder bench, Isaiah Joe had 13 points. He was solid, but it wasn't enough. The Thunder, man, my goodness gracious, PJ Washington. Where do I begin with this guy? 27 points, 11 of 23 from the field, 5 of 12 from three. Luka and Kyrie both had 22. And then Derek Lively had 12 points to come off the bench. And then next up, we got the Celtics and the Cavs. Game three, the Celtics bounced back like I said they would. Like, let me say this. Boston has been the best team all postseason. Like, I know they lost, they are allergic to game two, but like, realistically, they find a way to bounce back. Peeking at the Celtics, Jason Tatum, I'm looking to say 33 points. Um, Jalen Brown at 28, Derek White at 12, Drew Holiday played solid. He had 18, and their bench, man, like their bench couldn't do anything about it. Picking at the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell played really well. He had 33 points. Darius Garland had 15. Evan Mobley, man. I think I've been saying his name for like the past 5 minutes. Evan Mobley seems to be playing really well. He had 17. And Karis LeVert stepped up for the Cavs bench. He had 15 points from the field, but like I said, it wasn't enough. All right, peeking, and this was, by the way, on Mother's Day Eve. You know, and then moving on to the next set of games. Oh, jeez. We had, what did we have in this game? I'm trying to remember who played on this day. Oh, yeah. Pacers and the Knicks, game four. This game was ugly to the maximum level. You know, I remember watching on ESPN that day, I think yesterday, Stephen A. Smith saying, like, well, I just came out of the bathroom vomiting. I just could not stop laughing at that. And no offense, and this is not a knock on them. I think that's how the Knicks felt that game. Jalen Brunson had 18 points. Alec Brooks had 20 to lead all scores for the Knicks, but like I said, it was an absolute massacre. As for the Pacers side of things, I mean, they had multiple guys step up. Tyrese Halliburton had 20. Pascal Siakam gave them a good 14. Miles Turner had 13. Obi Toppin has 14. TJ McConnell had 15. Isaiah Jackson it is that is had 10 points. Like like I said, this Pacer team won't go away. And then finally, we got we had the Nuggets and the Timberwolves game four. This game got ugly out of hand. Like I thought the Timberwolves were gonna bounce back in this game. Just because I think Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns were gonna bounce back. But boy, was I wrong. Jokic had 35 points. Aaron Gordon decided to become, in a way, like Kevin Durant, 27. Jamal Murray had 19. He wasn't that bad. Justin Holiday and I think Christian Brown led the way with 10, 11 points off the Nuggets bench. Sorry. I'm going to charge my watch hopefully soon. But anyway, peeking at the Timberwolves side of things, Anthony Edwards just balled out of his mind. He had 44 points. Like I said, it wasn't enough because look at it. Like, yes, his like all the Timberwolves stars were in double figures, but like, look at it. 11 points for Jaden McDaniels, 11 points for Rudy Gobert, 13 points for Karl-Anthony Towns, Mike Conley with 15. Naz Reid had 11. It just wasn't enough because the defending champs showed why they're the defending champs for a reason, and that is why. All right, there we go. And then finally, tonight, we had the next game. We had today the Celtics and the Cavs. This game was actually a lot closer. I got score updates saying this was going back and forth. The Celtics balled it out again. Darius Garland seemed to find his way in, but the Celtics, Tatum led the way with 33 points. Jalen Brown had 27. Drew Holiday, 16 points. Peyton Pritchard spark off the bench with 11, and that was pretty much it for the Celtics scoring. For the Cavs, Darius Garland stepped up without Donovan Mitchell. I literally forgot to mention Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing. Karis LeVert had 19. Evan Mobley had 19. Max Strus had 15, but it wasn't enough. And finally, the nightcap. I know this is going on forever now. I apologize. We had the Thunder and the Mavs. This game was actually getting very close. Like I think the Mavs were leading at one point. I thought, oh, maybe the Mavs are going to take this game, but the Thunder just worked hard, prevailed. and somehow got it done. Um, SGA had 34. Chet had 18. Jalen Williams had 14. Lou Dort, probably one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA right now. Lou Dort had a mean 17, and pretty much that was it. Peaking of the Mavs, PJ Washington, man, has been balling. He led the way. Daniel Jones, not Daniel Jones, Derek Jones Jr., excuse me. Same DJ. If you know, you know. Um, he led the way with 20 at 17. Luca had 18. Had 18. Daniel Gafford had 10. And like it was close, but like in the end, OKC Thunder found a way to put the game away. All right. So what did you guys think of all these games? Which playoff series do you know for sure is unlocked in terms of being finished? Which series do you see going to a 7-game series? I think pretty much almost all of them, excluding Boston and Cleveland, I think is going to go into a 7-game series. But let me know in the comment section below what you think. All right, so I want to briefly now talk about the Jamal Murray incident in Game 2 and sharing my thoughts about it because I couldn't share them last week because I was busy. But like, I want to say this, about the Jamal Murray situation. For those that didn't know, Jamal threw a heat pad at the referees. Luckily, and I think he threw a towel behind the referees. Um, Luckily the refs didn't catch that, but like I said, the refs, I know the refs have not. I know Jamal struggled. Having said, but hear me on this. Let me just say this, Jamal. I love you, man. You're a great player. You're a talented player. You're a great player. All right, I rock with you because you're a Kentucky boy, and for those that don't know, I'm a huge Kentucky boy, Kentucky Wildcats boy. That's one of my favorite college basketball teams. But having said all that, you cannot do that, Jamal. All right, you just cannot do that. Man. All right, all right. Imagine a player or like a referee getting hurt because you did it. You know, like that's just unacceptable. And then, all right, if Draymond Green did that, I guarantee you he would have been suspended for like half the season if he did that. All right. But apparently Jamal didn't. That really irritates me, considering that every player who does something like that, no matter if the ref is looking or not, you shouldn't do that. And even if when the reporters ask you a question, you come out and say, I apologize for what I did. All right. You don't just say next question or something like that. No, you don't do that. You say what I did. I understand what I did wrong. I apologize to the people who did that and whatnot. Like Jamal, you can't do that, man. All right. And the fact that you didn't get suspended for it really blows my mind, considering that if it was any other player, like Draymond Green, for example, Draymond would have been like suspended in a blink of an eye. But yeah, that's me just rambling about the Jamal Murray situation. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think Jamal should have been suspended or not? Let me know in the comment section below. All right. So next up, we're going to be talking about the elephant in the room in Phoenix, and that is Frank Vogel getting fired by the Phoenix Suns. I actually, believe it or not, I actually woke up to this news that day. I can't say I'm surprised, but then again, like it is what it is. Like Frank, like, and I watched for those that want. I watched the Suns the second half of this year. Yeah, I watched the wins and I watched the losses. It just felt like Frank was not the right guy for the team. If you know what I mean? Like I just didn't like when you pair like a defensive minded coach with a bunch of offensive guys and Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant, like you're gonna have some flaws with your team. And I want to say this, like I love Frank Vogel. He's like one of my favorite coaches. I loved him when he was in Indiana. All right. I kind of liked him when he was on the Lakers, but at the same time, like it had to be done. And I honestly feel bad for him because he's a great coach. He just did not have the right personnel, And not to mention, like, let's face it, KD and Booker both want him out. So it is what it is. Speaking of Kevin Durant, there's been rumors going around the league right now about Kevin Durant possibly wanting to play for the Miami Heat. And I want to say this first off, for those that have known me for like a year or just know me because of my YouTube channel, or who people who have known me for more than a couple years now, you all know that Kevin Durant is like one of my favorite players in the NBA right now. Like he is like one of my favorite players. I don't think he should go to Miami. All right. Now, do I think that gives them the best chance to win? Yes. But here's the thing though. The East, I have to say it, the East has gotten a lot better. In my opinion, like you got Boston. As much as I want to shit on them, you got Milwaukee. Indiana is not going anywhere. Miami is going to be solid. Philly, what they do this offseason is going to be well. The Knicks, when they're healthy. Orlando, Cleveland. Cleveland, I'm not sure about, but Cleveland, like, there's a lot of teams that are getting better. And I know the West is freaking stacked. I know that. All right. I've seen it before. I've seen it before. But he's not going to Miami. All right. Please stop saying that he's going to Miami. Like, outside of draft picks, what can Phoenix get in a KD trade? We don't know. All right. I want to say this because I feel like I'm the only person in this earth that's saying this, but I genuinely mean this to the bottom of my heart. And I'll fight fire with fire when I say this statement. I still think, despite getting swept this past spring, I still think the Suns' big three can work out. I still think they can. Now they're screwed financially, obviously. Like Bradley Beal, everyone knows. Like I'm a Bradley Beal fan. I love him to death, but he has a no trade clause. All right, Katie's under contract for I think like what 2 more seasons. Booker is like what 2 as well. Actually, wait, no. Actually, no, I think yeah, 2 more years for Booker, 3 more years for Beal, 2 more years for KD. Like, yeah, they're screwed financially. They don't have any draft picks. Having said all that, I still think this trio can work. All right. They do need to get a point guard this offseason. They must. All right. But they can do it. Like, I understand this season was not that good for the Suns. All right. They were terrible. They were the most embarrassing team. I can disagree on that. But this team played a lot more games than the Brooklyn Nets Big Three. Let me say that again. This team played a lot more games than the Brooklyn Nets Big Three. Like the Brooklyn Nets Big Three played like 17 games the season they were together. The Suns played like 41 games, like half a season. Yeah, sure, they have ugly losses here and there, but they played more games. So that's my biggest takeaway. I honestly think that KD, I still think KD's going to stay in Phoenix. I'm actually one of the minority that says KD's going to stay in Phoenix. Um, but if he doesn't, I say go back to OKC. Because OKC has a bunch of young players they could do, and they have, I believe, the most draft picks out of any NBA team. Like I think they have like 17 picks, which the Suns need. Suns need picks. They don't have a draft pick until like 2030, which is crazy. But yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it one last time. I still think I myself, Kuhn, Francis, and Lee, still think the Suns' big three can work out. I still think they can work out, but we have to see what happens. Speaking of the Suns, they hired Mike Budenholzer as their next coach. My initial thoughts about that: I'm very surprised by the hire. All right. I do think though I think Bud, excuse me, is a very good coach. All right. I mean, he had the Bucks like kicking ass. I know they didn't do well, but he had the Bucks winning 60 games, like I think for 2 straight years. Like that is unheard. Like unless you're like the Spurs or like the Warriors or the Lakers back when with Kobe, back when we were kids, or the Miami Heat with Braun, D Wade, and Chris Bosh, the ones when we were kids. Like this team, the Bucks went like if you think about Milwaukee outside like Giannis, you think no, there's no way they're going to hit 60 wins, but they did. Now, my only concern with this hire is can Bud make adjustments? Because that was the biggest. Because people tend to forget that was his biggest flaw when he was in Milwaukee. That was his biggest flaw in Milwaukee. He couldn't make adjustments. All right. Heck, I think even Giannis said in his press conference last spring that like we didn't make the right adjustments. So that's my only concern. But I do think he's gonna be a fantastic coach. I do think the Suns are gonna get a point guard this offseason. Whether people want to shit on it or not, they're gonna get a point guard. The question is, I don't know who. But I still think this Suns team, when healthy, is going to be a top 4 seed, maybe top 5 if we're going to be realistic, in the Western Conference. Speaking of coaches, the Lakers fired Darvin Ham, which, as you can tell by our last episode, I talked about, and I went on a kind of a rant about why he shouldn't have been fired and all that stuff. You know? But anyway, I honestly do not even know who the Lakers should hire. I do not even know. All right. I heard like JJ Redick, um, God, who else are you? Like Kenny Atkinson, like I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't even know. And I even asked my uncle Tony, who's a diehard Lakers fan, like, who do you want as your next coach? He says, I don't know. I think if I had to take one guess at it, I would say bring back Frank Vogel. And I know my uncle's watching this. I know you don't like Frank as a coach, but let me remind everybody on this. All right. Frank was not the reason why the Lakers sucked in the 21-22 season. Let me say that again. Frank was not the reason why the Lakers sucked. All right. Frank is a defensive minded head coach who prioritizes on defense. Pretty much half the Lakers roster, like I think like 3/4 that didn't play, like weren't a good defender. Like Trevor Ariza, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard. Yeah, Dwight was good, but he wasn't, that good. Carmelo Anthony, DeAndre Jordan. All right. And top of that, like he didn't enforce the Lakers to get Russell Westbrook. That was all LeBron James. And that's not a knock on Braun. I think Braun's a fabulous player. But to blame it on Frank Vogel is it's just unbelievable. All right. So as of right now, if you ask me who do I think they should hire, my answer is I don't know who they should hire. But if I had to take a guess, I would just say run it back with Frank. All right. But who knows? Only time will tell. So who do you think the Lakers should hire? Let me know in the comment section below. Our next topic, we're going to be talking about Nikola Jokic winning his third MVP and sharing my thoughts about it. I'm going to be short and concise as quickly as possible because I got a lot of things to do later today. But I'm not surprised. I said after, excuse me, Embiid went down, I think Jokic is going to win it just because Jokic has been putting up solid numbers and he's been, and I know this sounds really like a very boring answer to it, but he's been on one of the best teams all year. All right, I know Shea should have won it. I heard Shaq say it. I don't NBA TNT, but take away Jokic from that team. Let's say Jokic, and I don't mean this on him, Nuggets fans or NBA fans. Let's say Jokic has a devastating injury and he's out for the next 2 seasons. That Nuggets team, no offense, I don't care if Jamal averages 30 points. That team is not even a playoff team. You take away SGA from that Thunder team, they can actually put up a fight in the West. Now, they don't have that closure in SGA, but they got Jalen Williams who can give you 25. Chet Holmgren who looks really good. And they have a bunch of guys that can give you 15 and 20 a night. So the Thunder are fine, is what I'm saying. All right, and to wrap things up, we're going to be ranking how important every Game 5 is for every NBA team. Now, keep in mind when I say this, these are based on my opinions on it. So, if you disagree, let me know in the comment section. If you agree as well, let me know in the comment section below. So, let's peek at the tier list. We have the tier list right here. We actually have two tiers again. Hold on, I have to zoom in right now with my laptop. We have the bottom tier, which you can ignore, is like eliminated from the play-ins or playoffs or both. And then we have the middle tier, which is must win game 5, or else things are not going to look good moving forward. Basically, if they don't win game 5, I just don't see them like winning the series, you know. And then not important, but it would be nice if they won game 5, you know. That's it. But those are the tiers. Anyway, starting off, we got the Dallas Mavericks. Honestly, I would say it's not important, but it would be nice if they win game 5. Just because I think I have this feeling in my gut that Dallas OKC this year is going in 7. This series is going in 7. And like, hey, Dallas can prove they can win on the road. And if they lose, let's say they lose game 5, they can bounce back in game 6. I believe in the math. Up next, we got the Nuggets. Yeah, I think you have to win game 5 because I think if you don't, I think Minnesota is gonna like move is gonna say, okay, we just took game 5 in Denver. We could take game 6. So yeah. Actually, no, not important. But it'd be nice if they won game 5. Up next, we got the Pacers. Honest to God, this team is very complicated to figure out just because of their talent. I like I said with the Mavs, it's not important, but it'll be nice if they win game 5 just because like this series between the Pacers and Knicks, this series is going to 7. I have a feeling this series is going to 7. Um, but yeah, that's all I gotta say. Up next, we got the Timberwolves. Yeah, they have to win game 5. I saw this on First Take. Stephen A said this, and I agree with him 100% on this. If the T-Wolves win game 5, and granted, a little disclaimer: the Timberwolves took games 1 and 2 in Denver before in the series. If the Timberwolves don't win game 5, then how the hell are they going to win game 6? Like, how is that even possible? So they have to win game 5. Up next, we got the Knicks. Oh my goodness. I think, like I said, I think you have to win game 5 just because, like, if you don't win game 5, I think Indiana wraps it up in 6. Unless Jalen Brunson and like Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart steps up, like they have to win game 5. And plus, they have so many injuries on their team. Up next, we got the Cavs. Oh yeah, they have to win game 5. If they don't win game 5, they're out. They're like eliminated from the playoffs. They're like, bye. Up next, we got the Thunder. Like I said with the Mavs, I think they won't win. I don't think like it's not important, but it would be cool if they did because like if they win game 5, they can win game 6. I have full confidence OKC can win game 6. And finally, we got the Celtics. Yeah, call me crazy. They have to win game 5 because I have this weird feeling in my stomach, and I'm not a Celtics fan when I say this. If they don't win game 5, everyone in the media is going to get on their ass asking, how on earth did they not close it out in 5? How? So, yeah, I think it's important they win game 5. So that is my ranking on how I think each team is going to do, how important, is game 5 for every single NBA. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was pretty long because we had to recap a lot of games this past weekend, but in the end, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give a like, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. To all the Key and Lee Show fans out there, expect an episode to drop maybe this coming Thursday. I'm going to be doing my way too early NFL predictions video. There will be a lot more info about that in that video. But with all that said, have a fantastic evening. Stay safe, stay warm, stay active. And until next time, we out. Peace.